Hey friends in beauty, if you're a professional makeup artist or beauty pro who is tired of juggling multiple tools to run your business, I got great news for you. Beauty Pro Funnels is here to simplify your life and take your business to the next level. Unlike other platforms like Wix, Squarespace, or Acuity, Beauty Pro Funnels was created by a makeup artist for makeup artists. This is the world's first all-in-one software that helps you book clients, sell your products, and even launch courses all in one place. No need for separate subscriptions that drain your wallet or tools that don't speak your language as a beauty pro. With Beauty Pro Funnels, you're not just getting another booking tool. You're unlocking the ability to create multiple revenue streams, so whether you're behind the chair or not, you're making money. Imagine accepting bookings, selling your beauty products, and offering courses all without the stress of managing separate systems. That could be a big headache. Let me break it down to you one more time. Your website, build it on Beauty Pro Funnels. Your portfolio, build it on Beauty Pro Funnels. Your booking site, build it on Beauty Pro Funnels. And your e-commerce site, host it in Beauty Pro Funnels. Want to offer beauty courses or digital products? You can sell them inside of Beauty Pro Funnels, and you'll be able to send invoices, digital contracts, newsletters, and do all of your marketing directly from your Beauty Pro Funnels account. It's mind-blowing. Listen, you're going to save hundreds of dollars every single month by replacing over 10 platforms when you make the switch to Beauty Pro Funnels like Wix, Squarespace, Acuity, WordPress, Vagaro, Honeybooks, 17 Hats, Dubsado, MailChimp, Klaviyo, Kajabi, DocuSign, even Shopify. It's crazy. I know you got at least one of those. And here's the best part. Tayana and her team spent over a year building plug-and-play templates into your account for pretty much everything, so you never have to start from scratch at all. So all of your appointment confirmations, reminders, and payment reminders and stuff like that for your clients, they have already been written out for you. You can even gather reviews and referrals all on autopilot. You'll free up so many hours of time each week so you can focus on what you love, your artistry. Plus, with their mobile app, you can manage your entire business from the palm of your hand. Send invoices, schedule appointments, and even take payments on the go. I believe in Beauty Pro Funnels so much that I recently moved the Friends of Beauty site to Beauty Pro Funnels, and I am loving it. It's a game changer because it's not just a platform. I swear it is like having your personal business assistant designed specifically for makeup artists and beauty pros like you. So here's the deal. If you want to see what all the hype is about, visit getbeautyprofunnels.com/friends to get a personalized tour and see how Beauty Pro Funnels can transform your business today. That's getbeautyprofunnels.com/friends because you deserve the best tool for your beauty business.
3 native little girls. They were covered in lip gloss, rosy cheeks, brown skin, and they were giggling and laughing because they had made a mess of themselves. Like in my dream, it was lip gloss that they had all over themselves, and that's what I remember. And I woke up, and I was like, it was so clear to me, which is wild when I think about this part, that was going to be the next part of my career path. Like I was selling fish. I was in the food industry for my whole life. Like who thinks that they're going to go into beauty? And it would be almost 2 years before we launched just as an e-commerce business. But I really think an important part of my story that I do share, it gets a little personal, but that dream happened 2 months after I got sober. This is where like feedback is so important sometimes, and feedback from experts, right? Like they were very honest. I was still using private label at the time.
Okay.
I remember like this physical motion of them like shoving the products across the table, and we're like, these will never sit on our shelves.
Because it was private label?
Because it was private label. And when I think about the beauty brand of my dreams, those first few years of Cheekbone were not they weren't me, essentially. I had to do it this way because I had no money. So I went with simple private label with low minimums because that's all I could afford to do. I had like literally $500 to start this. And then we have something we call the 7 generations teaching, which is thinking about what am I doing today So, what product am I making today? What am I putting into the world? And how will it impact not only the next generation, but the
Wow.
next 7 generations? So, like your great grandchildren. And when we think about things like that, we're thinking about how we're going to leave this earth, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, a safe space for ambitious beauty industry creatives to have real talk, get authentic answers, and practical tools to grow their businesses. Join me every week as me and my special guest reveal the keys to longevity and success in the beauty industry, from the ups and downs of their journey to the nitty-gritty of their struggles and triumphs. We're spilling the tea on it all, and most importantly, having fun while doing it. You ready?
Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Aquia Robinson. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast. I am so happy to have you here, and I hope you're listening to this episode in high spirits and in good health. Now, in today's episode, we have the pleasure of having Jenn Harper in the Friends of Beauty guest chair. Jenn is the founder and CEO of Cheekbone Beauty, a powerhouse Indigenous-owned brand that is redefining sustainability, representation, and what it means to build a beauty company with purpose. She's the type of beauty founder who's not just shaking the table, she's rebuilding it from the ground up. From turning down offers on Dragon's Den to landing on Sephora shelves and earning a B-Corp certification, Jen's story is raw, visionary, and straight up inspiring. But trust me, what you don't know yet will have you even more obsessed. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Friends of Beauty podcast, Jenn.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Yes, I'm so excited to speak with you too. First of all, when I saw Cheekbone Beauty, I said, okay, bring her. The name alone was just like so cute. I was like, I have to know more. I'm obsessed already. So definitely welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you as well. I mean, when you literally have friends in beauty, I think you immediately have so many things in common, right? We're
Absolutely.
all obsessed with products.
We all are obsessed. Okay, so before we start chatting, we're going to start off with some icebreakers because we want to get to know you a little bit outside of what you do professionally.
Okay.
So, first one, just give us three random facts about you.
3 random facts. Okay, the one thing that will expose my Canadianness is I love ketchup chips, which is a flavor that you do not have in the United States of America. I can only get them here in Canada. So, and
Like an
I, it,
actual chip.
like a potato chip, but the flavor is called ketchup. I love them. I always
Ooh.
I literally, and they make your fingers all red because it does look like ketchup, but yeah, so good. And Lay's, like it's they have all other brands in the US, just not this certain flavor. But the more I've traveled around the globe, you learn that like each country has like unique flavors to
I'm a
those
little
areas.
jealous because I love ketchup. Now I need some
Oh, it's
ketchup
so
chips.
good. Yeah, yeah. It's like I think I don't know. It's got like a tangy little like vinegariness, but the sweetness of ketchup. Yeah, love them, love them.
Okay.
And what else? So I random facts. I'm like I have a lot, like the older I get, I'm getting more and more pet peeves, which I feel like a grumpy old lady sometimes, like because they're getting worse. So that's happening. And I'm really trying to like I don't know. I know you are not even close to this yet, but I hear it's called like perimenopause or menopause, and then every all of my girlfriends, some that are older, everyone's warning me that yeah, you get angry and bitter, and like it's just all happening. So that is happening right now. So I can feel like that's pretty random. And what else would be random about me? I'm trying to think. Who? Um, it's not random, but I'm a mom. It's probably one of the things that is the most important to me out of all the work I get to do. I feel like that was a job that I feel like I screwed up in so many ways because my kids are now going to be 23 this year, going to be 20. Um,
Mhm.
and I have so much fun with them, but also it's just uh, like I wish there's, I have a lot of mom guilt that comes from years of raising little ones, and I wish I could have
Yeah.
done things differently. But then, I'm getting advice from so many people that are like focus on the positives and the great outcomes that have come from, parenting and what we learn. Like it's especially the first one to the second, yeah, all so hard, but love those two
Yeah.
more than anything.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody can get away. I don't have any children, but I don't think anybody can get away from mom guilt. I think like
Like so
no matter
brutal.
how good your children in the children's eyes you might have done, there's always something in the back of your head that's like, I should have did that, or you know, always
Yeah.
wondering if you did the best. Because I know my mom asks me all the time, like,
Aw, I
did I
love
do?
her already. Yeah.
You did as good as you could. Like I
Yeah.
turned out to be great. So yeah,
Yay.
like a little, not to toot my own horn, but she
Yeah.
did as good
I
as she could.
love that.
Yeah. What do people always tell you that you're good at aside from what you do professionally?
What am I good at? I think I get a lot of feedback that I'm good at public speaking, which is something that I never really focused on until starting this business, and then now I do it. And I think I'm really good at it because obviously I'm so passionate about the brand and the business and all of the reasons why we do all the things we do. And then it's your own story as well, right? Like you, if maybe if they gave me a subject that I wasn't so familiar with or expert had much expertise in, the public speaking would not be as great. But I think because there's so much passion behind it, that's why it's good. But I do love hearing that, and it's nice to hear because sometimes I feel like I've came into this industry, this business with not a lot of skills or like,
Uh-huh.
and so I've been on a big learning curve since starting the brand, and so to hear that positive feedback, it's always encouraging, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the more you do it, I'm sure you get better and better at telling your story and
Yeah.
hitting those points. hmm When is the last time that you did something for the first time? Any new experiences lately?
The last time I did something for the first time, this must mean I have a really boring life because I feel like I'm pretty scheduled and regimented, but I'm trying to think like, have I done anything for the first time? I mean, quite honestly, with Cheekbone, there's a lot of firsts, right, as
hmm
you're growing and building. And so, in particular, I know you were like trying to get more personal, but I feel like my personal life is like, have those even family time and dinner time, like all, we have a pretty scheduled week and life. Um,
You got to get
I
out more.
I know. So we're like top secretly, but not so top secretly. We're a color cosmetics brand and we've been working on skincare. And so what I'm learning about right now is for 10 years, have been focused on the color cosmetics category, but skincare is very different. The
Yeah.
ingredients are different, formulation is different, and so this is a whole new learning curve. I'm trying to understand the language that comes around why things are feeling the way they feel and how they're absorbing into the skin. So this
Wow.
for me is like all new and a big learning curve for sure. So I feel like I'm doing a lot of those things for the first time.
Nice. So we'll be seeing some skincare soon from Cheekbone
I don't
Beauty.
know how soon. I feel like it's still years away because
Yeah.
this process is and then you're testing things out on your own skin to see, is it because of this ingredient that this is happening, is am I get
Right.
yeah, so it could be a while, but it's
Yeah, that's what I've
happening.
learned too. Like products don't just you don't just think of an idea and it comes out like next week or the
No.
next month. It's like sometimes people take years to build a product
Yeah,
before you see it on the
absolutely.
shelves.
Yeah.
Mm, Cool beans. I like that. Oh yeah, what's a current mini win or a highlight that you had, like a mini, like a small win that you have that's leading up to a bigger goal so far?
Ooh, I like
I
that.
guess the
So
skincare is one, like that's your
that and
that.
we're really trying to we're so small. We have such a small team. And, technology is amazing. However, there's a learning curve that comes to learning how technology can help and support your business and your team.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in this right now where we're trying to find tools to help us be more efficient and effective and scale. Like you get to a certain point as a business and you're like, okay, how? And then you hear of these unicorn acquisitions, like we all just heard the last, like I feel like I can't get away from Road Beauty and
Right.
Elf acquisition news, and then you feel like I've been doing this for 10 years. Like, how am I ever going to get to that kind of growth? Um, and obviously, number one, the comparison game is brutal. Let's not do that to ourselves.
For
I am
sure.
not Haley Bieber. I didn't have the capital to hire the team that Haley Bieber did and put out that work to do what they've accomplished, which is incredible. So for us as a small team, we're like the small win is when we find a tool and we're like, wow, this is going to be a game changer. This is going to
Yeah.
really support us in helping pump out more social media content or help us build better meta ads or Google ad, all of the things. And
Mhm.
I really am passionate about the support of technology and the future of growth that way, and how it can really help our team, this small team that we have, scale us to those next levels. And so that for us, that's a small win, but really exciting.
And that's an ongoing one too, because
Yeah,
as the world continues to advance and change, technology changes, the way you market it changes, and just got to keep up.
exactly. It's a lot of
Mhm.
keep it up.
Yeah. So if you weren't the founder and CEO right now of Cheekbone Beauty, is there anything else you could see yourself doing? Any other aspirations that you had?
Yeah, we literally were just talking about this. I love the idea of buying properties and where I get to be a part of the design side of it. So we've done this with a couple of homes that I live in, and like where you flipped and redesigned things, and I really love doing that. Not the laborious work, or I shouldn't say laborious, just even the skilled trade work that would go into that. I am not very good at, but like picking the finishes and how a room should feel, and removing a wall here or there and adding space and making things feel bigger and adding better storage and all that kind of like
Nice.
the
Okay.
part of I love doing that. And if I wasn't doing Cheekbone, I feel like I would be doing something like that.
I like that. Are you into like interior design?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Love.
I got to get into it. I'm yeah. I have a friend that's really good at it, so I'm like, girl, just come over and tell me
You
what
can
to do.
help. Yeah. If you have a friend, then you don't need it. Yeah, for sure.
Somebody else to do it. So that's the end of the icebreakers. I do want to start off by just congratulating you on like all the amazing things that you've been doing. You've been racking up awards,
Thank
recognition and everything, the Independent Retail Ambassador of the Year, the B-Corp certification, and just giving back in such powerful ways. Like when you really take the time to sit with, it's been 10 years. So when you really take the time to sit with everything that you've built so far, like how does it truly feel?
Yeah, when we do stop or when I stop to think about that, it is like, oh wow, oh my goodness. I remember a couple years back when we first started working with Sephora, and I'm in one of the locations and I'm standing there looking at this shelf and having a moment and telling this team, who probably thought I was some crazy lady because I was like trying to train them on the brand, and I was like, you guys, this was in my head like 5 years ago, and now it is sitting here on the shelf. Like, that was a wild feeling and moment, and that was a big deal. One, to launch with Sephora. They are a powerhouse in the beauty industry. And then now, this past year, to sit back and really see our growth in terms of like our growth, not it like, and I'm not just talking about like numbers and the math of business and scaling that way, in just the growth of who we are as a team. I'm
Mhm.
really proud of people who weren't from the beauty industry. Like, none of us on this team had a career in beauty before this.
Oh,
And so we are all new to it, and we're all working so hard to build this brand. And this last year, I've really felt and seen the magic of that. And despite maybe numbers not, hockey spiking, sticking like there's like you would want, but this steady growth that is manageable. And in some ways, when I think about it and I think about the kind of brand we're building, I really want this brand to live on beyond me, if you will, I guess.
yeah.
And so
Mhm.
recognizing how that has flipped how we operate, because it used to be, oh my goodness, okay, we got an investor now, and now we have to like, and it's not necessarily the most sustainable way to grow a business. And so I feel like us just focusing on remaining profitable and
Mhm.
being a sustainable, healthy business with a scalable and sustainable growth is just a new mentality for us, and we've got there, and we're and thinking of how we're going to get to the next phases of business and growing that way. But that has been powerful because I've watched us develop as a team into that, and I
Mhm.
think that's really special, right? Like the development of a team to do it together. Like, it's because it's never just
Mhm.
one person, it's got to be all of us. And experiencing that with this group of people has been incredible.
That's amazing. How many people do you have on your team right now?
So we are 6 people that are full time, and then everything else, obviously, we use a lot of outsourced contracting support systems as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible that you all didn't have any experience in the beauty industry. You've been able to do so many amazing things so far. How did the Sephora deal come about? Were you in the Accelerate program?
No, I actually got rejected from that. And so what's interesting is I just stayed in contact with those key executives that I remember were at that meeting when I had met them. Then I
Yeah.
get the email that I hadn't been selected, and of course, heartbroken. But I just knew from that meeting, they left me with, this is where like feedback is so important sometimes, and feedback
Hmm.
from experts, right? Like they were very honest. I was still using private label at the time, and
Okay.
I remember like this physical motion of them like shoving the products across the table, and we're like, these will never sit on our shelves. And
Because it was private label?
because it was private label, and here's
Wow.
why. And they said there has to be product innovation. We love you, we love the brand story you're trying to build, but the products have to be uniquely positioned to even enter this market. And they were not even talking, they're like componentry packaging, like you have to build the products to marry this brand that we hear you're speaking of, right? Like they could hear it and see that and feel what I wanted to do, but
Yeah.
it wasn't translating to the product. And they weren't wrong, they really weren't, right? Anyone. And it turns out, so the products we were using came from a very popular private labeler, and the more I looked online, it was like every new beauty brand is using all of this same private. So they truly
Right.
weren't wrong. And in particular, there was another brand, in the from another indigenous nation that literally was starting a cosmetics company. And when I saw them pop up and they were using the same one, I was like, okay, I get it now.
Got it. Got it.
I was
Yeah.
like, but I was such a newbie to the beauty space that I didn't get that at first, right? I didn't
Hmm.
realize how, I guess, a lack of, there was no competitiveness there. There's nothing special about the products. And so this is when and then we started getting questions from customers. Like, do you know where this ingredient comes from? Why are you using plastic? Could you use something more, like, and the
Hmm.
more I started connecting all the dots, I'm like, okay, the kinds of questions these customers that are attracted to our brand, because those are your people, the core people from the early days, the ones that are sort of giving you feedback and questioning what you're doing, they
Yeah.
are legitimately the ones that are your market. So as much as sometimes you're like, oh, why do you have to bug me with all the, right, as a founder, you're like, I'm busy doing all these things. And then just paying attention to what the people really wanted, right? Like
Yeah.
this is what they wanted. And quite honestly, it married with who I was. Like when I think about the beauty brand of my dreams, those first few years of Cheekbone were not who they weren't me essentially. I had to do it this way because I had no money. So I
Right.
went with simple private label with low minimums
Just to
because
get it
that's
started.
all I could afford to do. I had like literally $500 to start this. And so I give myself a ton of grace about that. I didn't have funding. So how am I going to
Hmm.
build something? And so we really operated that way for about 3 years, but about a year in is when I met with the Sephora team, got rejected, and then now knew I had to work on product. And so that's what I set out to do and started just investigating ingredients, packaging. There was so much talk about beauty waste and sustainability and like, is this even possible? And then I looked at like the natural beauty market, and so many of the products at the time were like not even very good. Like, I remember the early days of a brand that's like, and I won't mention names because I don't want to ever insult anyone,
Yeah.
but it was like, and it's such a popular brand, and I'm like trying the products, and they literally were just like slipping off my face. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, I get the ingredients are all natural, but it's not working. So
Right.
is it even possible to make the things with more naturally derived ingredients work better? And all of these questions. And then knew immediately when I started to do the research that, oh wow, like I'm never going to have enough money to do this unless I go down the investor route.
Mm.
And honestly, I think this is really sometimes this is, when luck becomes a big part of the journey or the right timing. Maybe,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily luck, but I was in the right place at the right time, but had met this gentleman. He just started what was a social impact fund, the first Indigenous social impact fund in the world.
Wow.
Their name was Raven Capital. They were based out of Vancouver, Canada, and their mission was to support businesses that really wanted to do better in the world. And so I
Mhm.
went to them with this sort of business model of the sustainable brand we want to build. And from the beginning, Cheekbone was always about supporting our Indigenous community. That was always in the foundation of the work. Like early days, we were giving back 10% of our profits to causes that matter. So we were helping the First Nation Child and Family Caring Society. I remember in the first 2 years, we donated like $10,000, which to me was a lot of money, right? Like at
Yeah.
that time, like we're just this small little online business, but we were donating the cash to this organization, which is an incredible organization. And so we always had that like deeply embedded in the foundation of the business that we want to give back, but now this side of like making products better and more sustainable was
Mhm.
just brand new and coming out. And so it was only with the support of an investor that we were then able to go down that path, and thank goodness, because I believe if I never met Raven, who's going to invest in me? I have
Yeah.
no experience in the beauty industry. My bank was never going to give me any money because they're like, you're like, who are you? You're not like, with no track record. And so grateful that we did meet this investor, and I was able to quit my full-time job that I was selling fish at the time and
Okay.
start to go into Cheekbone all in August of 2019. So that was 3 years of literally working ridiculous hours. It was like 80 to 100 hours a week because I had a day job as a
Right.
sales rep for a seafood company. And then at nights and on the weekends, I was building Cheekbone. And we were
Wow.
building despite not having the product that I wanted, but we were
That's what I
still
was going to ask
building.
you.
Yeah,
So when Sephora gave you that feedback and then you partnered with, or you got the investing opportunity through Raven Capital, were you still selling the private label things just to get the generate the income so you could invest it into the products that you wanted? Like what did that look
exactly.
like?
Yeah, it
Okay.
was kind of still happening in the background that we were
Got you.
working with the private labeler and it wasn't until I think 2021 was the final year where we now had products that were cheekbone formula componentry products.
Did you do like a whole like relaunch or
A
anything?
complete And 2021 is the year that we did get into Sephora. So, yeah, I feel like I skipped a whole bunch on you there. Like, so we finally stopped working with the private labeler. However, in the background, we're working on all these formulas. We start with the lipstick. And when I started formulating this lipstick, it was 2018. And I would send samples to one of these buyers at Sephora. And
Mm,
sometimes they would respond and give me feedback, and sometimes they wouldn't. And then sometimes they like, and so there was this like, I remember sending one formulation and I just get an email, there's like too much pull, meaning like when you go to your lip, the
okay.
pull was too much. And I was like,
It
okay,
wasn't smooth enough.
yeah, exactly. The glide was not there.
Okay.
And then we're like, add more shea butter to the formula. We want this thing to glide. So that went on for quite some time. And then it was January of 2021. We get an email from Sephora's team that they're going to launch us in September of 21. Yeah. Like just back, like behind the scenes, I'm just sending samples, not even really communicating with anyone, but that is kind of that's how it happened. And thankfully, that only came into existence because of the investment that came in 2019, right?
Hmm.
Because Raven believed in this new vision of the brand, and so we started with the lipsticks, then we kind of like moved through categories, and then finally by 2021 when we did launch, we rebranded and had all new products that were heading into Sephora. And it just started with a lipstick, believe it or not, and then now
Right.
we have Online, I think we have like 30 something SKUs, and in store we have like 20. No, we have like 30 SKUs because of the new pencils. But yeah, so
Yeah, you have a whole line
it's
now.
like this slow, and as an entrepreneur, we can be so impatient because I want, I want the full gondola. But meanwhile, the truth
Hmm.
is, as small business probably can't afford the full gondola, right?
Right.
So you got to do what you can afford. And I feel like, as mentioned earlier, this whole idea of building a sustainable business that's going to be around for a long time, I
Mm, you got
think
to
that
take your time.
you got to take your time. And
Excellence takes time.
it totally does. And I've completely flipped my script on that one for sure. Because I used to be like, let's just rush and get. No, it
Yeah.
won't last if we do that, right?
That makes so much sense because I think about things in that way too. Just as far as life goes, I'm like, if we do plan on being here for a long time, which I plan to be like a little old lady, at least like 100, it's like why are we rushing things so much? Like
Mm,
if you have enough time to kind of slow walk things and get it done. But what I love about this is like delayed is not denied. Like you went to
mm,
Sephora within the first year of you launching, and what's so important about this is what I hope people catch is just the importance of like leveraging your relationships and also keeping in touch with people and still showing them that you're still working on things behind the scenes, because I feel like a lot of times people when they get rejected they just take that as the final like cut, and it's like,
yeah.
okay, they probably hate me, I don't want to bother them by sending them samples or reaching out and asking for advice, but that's not what you did and it has paid off. I just love that story.
Yeah. Like for sure. No ultimately means just not right now, right?
Yeah.
And just like change how we view that. So important. It's true.
Hmm.
And I think that the key to success in entrepreneurship, and in particular, we're focused in the beauty space, but I look at it this way. I'm like, this can't fail if we don't give up. Like,
You're
if we're
right.
not giving up, this isn't going anywhere. And so we literally, it's about pushing forward, that tenacity, that grit. And I think we all have that within us. This is what I love sharing this journey sometimes because it's so interesting. I think for years, I literally was believing that this was only for certain people,
Hmm.
right? And I don't, I think, child trauma, like that's a whole different conversation, but all kinds of reasons why I didn't have a lot of self belief as a young person. But recognizing now is like, no, there's so many people that don't know what they're doing just like us, and they figured it out. And just like they figured it out, we can figure it out. And I really
Mhm.
want, for me, in my heart in particular, it's women of color. Like, I
Yeah.
really feel so passionate about sharing this journey with certain communities because I feel like we've been left out of them for so long, and
Mhm.
that this ability to make these things happen is there for us to access.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. So I know Cheekbone came to you in a dream during a like really pivotal time in your life. Can you go back to that moment for a second? Like, is it such a dream that is like so vivid that you still remember it to this day? Like,
Yeah, so don't remember. I know some people are like remember all their dreams all the time. I
yeah.
have like a few dreams in my life. One really scary when I was a little kid about a guy called the Rope Man. It was very scary, and I remember that dream. And this dream, and three native little girls, they were covered in lip gloss, rosy cheeks, brown skin, and they were giggling and laughing because they had made a mess of themselves. Like, in my dream, it was lip gloss that they had all over themselves, and that's what I remember. And I woke up, and I was like, it was so clear to me, which is wild when I think about this part, that that was going to be the next part of my career path. Like,
Yeah.
I was selling fish. I was in the food industry for my
Right.
whole life. Like, who thinks that they're going to go into beauty? However, that was the dream, and the whole idea was to think about making a product. And from that evening forward, literally set out on this path to figure out how to make that happen. And it would
Mhm.
be almost 2 years before we launched just as an e-commerce business. But I really think an important part of my story that I do share, it gets a little personal, but that dream happened 2 months after I got sober. So I had been battling alcoholism for many years.
Mhm.
And November 26, 2014, I get sober. And then in January of 2015, I have this dream. And it is just wild to me that this was this is what was happening, and going to happen. And at the same time, I was also learning. about my grandparents. So we've since learned that Native Americans, Native Canadians, Indigenous people in North America, they were part of this thing called the residential or boarding school system. So when colonization started to happen in North America, the
Mm-hmm.
government and church put together this plan of like how they were going to assimilate our people into a more European way of living and lifestyle. And that was going to be through this school system. So
Mm-hmm.
I have this dream, and then I'm also learning after this that this is what my grandmother survived. And
Love
so
it.
in Canada in particular, the government and survivors of these schools did this 6 year long research project. And they came back with all of the horrible things that happened at these schools. And the truth essentially had come out that these were extremely negative experiences for Indigenous people, whether it's being physically beaten, sexually abused, and at the like there are horrific stories, but my grandmother, if she chose to speak our language, she would be beaten for doing so. And
Mm.
there's just the data and the stats. I don't want to get into it because it is pretty awful and traumatic, but
We can look it
learning
up.
learning that this is what happened to my family, and my whole life I was like, why does my family feel so dysfunctional? Like, what is wrong? I couldn't understand, but this was a moment of truth for me where I was like, oh my goodness, this explains everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have this dream about this business idea, and I was like, okay, I've never felt like I'm a big activist. I didn't feel like I was going to go down that path. But I was like, what if I made a business that was about representing our communities and then did something to support them? And so all of this intersection is happening at the same time of this new sobriety path for me.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just so grateful that because I feel like it changed my life. Like when I talk about addiction, I'm really honest with people that like I wasn't just a everyday drinker. It was like not a good situation, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'd be alive today if I was still drinking. And so I'm so grateful for this business that came into my life because it literally gave me a whole new purpose and something
Yeah.
else to focus on. And and then at the same time, I'm like, I get to like I love people to understand and find out through entrepreneurship, you literally can create the life of your dreams, if you will. Essentially, it's been a life changing, and I'm so grateful for that dream. I'm grateful for the community that has supported this brand. People ask us all the time, in the early days in particular, if we were just for Indigenous people. I was like, no, we're for all human beings. I'm like, nobody would ever ask, I'm trying to the Lancome, like if they're just a French
Yeah.
brand or something. I'm like, they were
Right.
made for everyone. Our goal was to make products for everyone and be as inclusive as possible. Indigenous people, in fact, come in this huge shade range. Like we come from super fair skinned people to super deep melanin skin, and so
Yeah.
our goal is to have products that work for all skin tones, for
Which
all
means it's for
people of
everybody.
all cultures, for everyone. And so
Yeah.
yeah, and just when people discover our brand, I think what I've loved the most is people come because they hear the story, and then they start using the products. And the
Mm-hmm.
last 2 years has been really pivotal because I've said, I feel like we finally have product market fit. Like for a long time, we were really janky, if you will, in that area. Like we started off with a private label and had to then like literally change our brand identity to then
Mm-hmm.
start talking about sustainability and clean beauty and natural beauty and all these things. And so this shift has been hard. So we kind of like we're in this gap. And then finally, these last 2 years, I'm like, oh, it feels so wonderful because we have a really high returning customer rate, which means they
That's
come
great.
back and buy our products because they love them. And in beauty, that's really hard to achieve. And so we're really proud of that. Based on product, like 55% of people come back and buy something again and again. And,
That's amazing.
sometimes I'll open up an order still. I'll just jump into Shopify and I'll look and be like, oh, first time customer. And that's always really exciting. And then I look and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, 42 orders. I'm like, who is this person? And we have a lot of those. And I'm just like
Wow.
blown away that they love our products that much. And because we're in the US in JC Penney, but we're only in 147 doors. So
Okay.
it's not like we're accessible on at like every CVS or even Target. Like, do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
And if
it's
you go
not
on the Sephora site, what I had to do, I didn't even realize, but you got to go down to like the Canada. You got to like toggle
exactly.
on the Canada
Yeah.
site in order to see Cheekbone. Because I was like, where is it? I want to
Yeah.
see it.
So exactly, we're not easy to find. So seeing these people that when they find us, it's like, okay, they become loyal. And I think the biggest surprise in this journey was I struggled with skin sensitivities, in particular my eyes, my whole life. And so I think one of the really powerful moments is all the feedback. We get so much feedback from customers that haven't been able to wear color makeup in years and have found a
Mm,
brand that they can wear that's not causing skin irritations. And so all of this work that I we've done on making things feel safe and natural has worked finally. And so I'm like, it's paying off, right? And I feel
yeah.
like we're just getting started, and it's really strange to say that when you're 10 years into something.
Yeah, for sure. Like, first of all, I do want to say congratulations and like on your sobriety and finding
Thank you.
a newfound passion that has just grown into something totally beautiful. And I also saw that you've woven so much of your culture, the indigenous wisdom that is within your culture into like the sustainability model for your business. Can you explain to us about the two-eye seeing and the grandfather teachings? Can you explain to us like what that is and how you've woven it into your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking about that. So one way when I had that one meeting with Sephora, like way back when, and they were like, "This isn't going to do it. This is the brand identity you're building is great, but like we're not seeing it in the products." And so I left that meeting and I really recognized that the identity we were creating was based on my culture, my indigenous roots. And
Mhm,
so we did this huge rebrand. We're Cheekbone Beauty, we're indigenous roots and sustainable by nature. And we chose those phrases because that's literally who we are. And when I think about my culture, not only just my people, which are called Anishinaabe, I come from the Ojibwe tribe or nation, and we were like, and still reside a lot around the Great Lakes between like Minnesota and into Ontario there and in Canada. So like that's
okay.
where all of my family lives on that in that area. I'm one of the only ones actually that lives in this part of Ontario closer to Niagara Falls. But learning about how we communicated for generations, it was these oral teachings, and they're such a big part of our culture. And the many things we have passed down is not written in books, it was passed
Mhm,
orally, but there are so many beautiful teachings that relate to a way of life. And I always say it's this beautiful set of values and principles. And if you were going to live by something, why not live by these? Because they're quite beautiful. So the seven grandfather teachings are literally things like love, respect, humility, courage.
mhm,
And we've taken those and made them the core values of our company. So,
mhm.
like, we need our employees to display that. We want our community to display that. We want
I
to have
love
this
this.
interchange with them. And for us, it's also this deeply connected relationship with land, earth, sea, air, anything that comes from creation. Like that's included in that values and principle system. And
Mhm,
then there's teachings like to the two-eyed seeing teaching was coined by an elder, and we just call the wise people in our communities are called elders, right?
mhm,
And this doctor from the East Coast, so he's from a Mi'kmaq, which is that nation or what they call it, and it was two-eyed seeing, which was this concept of, you know, the science world and the natural world, and how these things relate. And literally, when we built our lab at our headquarters, which is behind me here, thought of like, how are we going to make things? Of course, we want things to come from nature, but we need modern Western science in order to do that. And so that's how we look. That's
mm,
why it's called two-eyed seeing, so that we're intersecting all of those things that are needed to make and create products because it's chemistry. But
yeah,
there's green versions of chemistry that, we incorporate into making and formulating products, and having all of that as part of the product development process was super important. And then we
mm,
have something we call the seven generations teaching, which is
okay.
thinking about what am I doing today? So, what product am I making today? What am I putting into the world? And how will it impact not only the next generation, but the
Wow.
next 7 generations? So, like your great great grandchildren. And when we think about things like that, we're thinking about how we're going to leave this earth, right?
Yeah.
And humans, we have done a horrible job. Like, let's face it. Like, unfortunately, I think greed and profits have become the most important things to most corporations.
And
And
not
our
longevity.
and like the legacy they're leaving is not a beautiful one. And I think when I think about this now, it's just so important. And I know we're a small business and maybe not even making a difference, if you will, if I'm honest, in the world. But I feel like us building out this category in this space, which we're defining and calling it Indigenous beauty. So when you
Mhm.
hear the word Indigenous beauty, we want everyone to understand that's now going to be synonymous with sustainability. So when you think about how you make and create products, like that
Mm.
is who we are as a people. Like we hear people talk about Korean beauty and we all think of
Yeah.
amazing skincare, Japanese beauty, again, amazing skincare, French beauty, red
Right.
lips, perfume. So I want the world to see Indigenous beauty as this way of helping protect the planet and making products safe for people. And so we're actually working on a book right now. So we're going to define that and put that out into the world. But also, maybe the big organizations will start to pay attention and recognize that maybe we should look to Indigenous communities wherever we know big companies operate all around the world, a lot of them right here in Canada and the United States, and maybe reaching out to your local Indigenous communities and finding out what are some sustainability teachings that you could incorporate into your business would be helpful, right?
Yeah, it's so intentional. Everything it seems like everything is so intentional with how you built the brand or that like the second wave of the brand after Sephora,
Yeah.
gave their feedback has just been very intentional. And I feel like the story behind the brand is like important in how people want to support the brand. Like knowing like what you're doing as far as like just highlighting your culture and the sustainability part and all the teachings and the values that have been poured into the brand and the people behind the brand. It just makes you want to be like, okay, let me buy some Cheekbone Beauty.
Aw, thank you. And for your, like, if I love how you incorporated just this question for your listeners, what they can take away. I think it's important to recognize too, that's not how we started.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember, we had no experience in this industry, and we've evolved as the
Yep.
business has evolved and really have made this into who we are today. But it didn't happen overnight, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I meet so many young entrepreneurs, and they're like, I don't know what my why is. And I'm like, maybe you just don't have it yet, but it's coming. Like it'll all
But you
connect
got to
at
keep
some
moving
point.
though for it
Yes,
to
yes,
come. You have to
yeah,
keep putting one foot in front of the other. You can't stop. Like you
yeah.
said, like in order to be successful, you just got to keep on going. Like the brand will be successful, but your why doesn't reveal itself just from you quitting. You have to continue to learn and grow and put yourself in position in rooms and expose yourself to people. And
Yes.
then a light bulb goes off one day. You're like, this is it.
Yes, and I always my favorite is like when you meet people that have found it and they're like, "Yeah, that's how it like because you feel it for them and then it's really exciting because I really do believe everybody's business or all of us need a reason why we're doing something or else why are you going to get up out of bed and do it, right? And
Yeah.
so I love when that happens for folks.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about Dragons Den because I know Dragons Den. It seems like it's like how we have what's that Shark Tank?
Exactly the
Yeah.
same
So
thing.
tell me
Yeah.
about your experience on Dragons Den and why you didn't take the offer.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So yeah, and no one knows the behind the scenes of like what's happening while you're on these shows or doing those things, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish it is very much like Shark Tank, um, and scary as can be. And it was literally tried out for it 3 times, got rejected, and finally the third time got an audition on air. And
Third
then
time's the
even
charm.
and even then, you go and you do the taping, and it might never go to air. So it's
Mm.
always just this like just keep going and showing up. I always say is that the piece of advice for that part. But so scary because you're pitching your business. It is one of the first times I've ever pitched the business essentially in front of people. Like I was never pitching this before that. So
Mm.
that took a lot of work, but also provided like a huge training session for me, if you will. Like I was training for that for months and months. And so it really helped me define that elevator pitch. So when you meet the people moving forward,
Yeah.
you'd be like, "What's your brand?" And I could sort of nail it in like
Mm,
60 seconds or less and tell them what we were trying to do.
yeah.
And that was huge. And then, so emotional for me because the early days of Cheekbone, I felt still so emotional about everything I was doing. I feel like I've gotten my emotional muscle has gotten a little bit stronger. But
Mhm.
um, when I shared the journey, it was really hard to share. I lost a brother to suicide just before launching this
I'm so
brand.
sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Wow.
And it's sadly so common within our communities um, because
Mm,
of generational trauma, believe it or not. So,
mm,
suicide and addiction are very, very common within Indigenous communities and such a painful experience. And that was honestly, and still is to this day, the reason why I haven't given up. I really believe my brother said something to me before he died. He said, "Jen, our kids need hope and they need help. And I believe what you're doing with this brand is going to be great." And so, on those days of the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship, I think of his words and I know that he's not wrong. I know that this is important. And so,
mm,
most certainly for me, that has been my why from the beginning is just like honoring him and also recognizing that our next generations of Indigenous youth need people to look up to, right?
right.
Whether it's in business, and that's the role that I'm filling for Indigenous folks, is just to have business role models. We have tons of athletes now, we have actresses, we have people in film and music, and I feel like my role here is to be a business role model for next generations and to show them that we can make a big brand just like everyone else could,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
so I'm grateful that I had that. So emotional. I feel like my kids make fun of me because when we watch the episode, it's like 7 minutes, and they're like, "Mom, you were crying for most of it." So got through it, got this offer, but it was terrible because he wanted 50% of the business. And what I learned exactly in the
Get out of here.
but when you're a new entrepreneur, you just want money to build something. So it's so scary because I don't know what I would have done hadn't I already. So I met Raven a year before this airing, right?
Okay.
And in my back pocket of that episode, I had a term sheet from Raven Capital. So I was able to gracefully turn down his offer knowing I
Right.
had a backup plan. The
Hmm.
truth is, when you're new and you're just like, if I only had $100,000, this is what I could do with it. So, new entrepreneurs, I got some great advice from two of the dragons on the show. They were like yelling in the background, "You're too new. Wait, because you don't want to give up too much equity too soon." And
Yes.
that's really important advice. And their advice was amazing. And they said, just keep pushing forward. You're building something great. It'll come. And they weren't wrong. If I would have given up that much equity early on for that amount of money, it just would have been a disaster. And so it was a wonderful experience. I recommend it for anyone that definitely has a product-based business, especially in the US. You guys have Shark Tank. That show is like a just a huge pivotal moment for every. I
Hmm.
know some friends that have been on Shark Tank, and they're like, it
Yeah.
is dramatic what happens to your business going on the show.
Yeah, I had one person that was on Shark Tank from the Lip Bar. I'm not sure if you heard of the Lip
Yes, I
Bar,
love.
but
Yes, yeah.
I've worked with her before and had the chance to interview her, and I just love how her brand has
Like
blown up
blew up.
despite the
Yeah.
feedback that they gave her. Despite that feedback, she has gone
Mm-hmm.
on to do some amazing things. So I guess it is good to take the feedback, but also know that they are human as well, and everything that they say is not law. You know.
No, yeah, like I believe Lip Bar has been on there, Glow Recipe, and they told
Yep.
them that was going to be awful, and they've blown up. Like, so they don't know everything about everything. So
Hmm.
you're right, take feedback, but like be strategic about the feedback you take.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So I know one thing because we you were talking about earlier with the road thing and how you said that you don't have like big investors behind you to, do that type of deal yet. One thing that is known within like the African American community is that when we have founders like Black founders who end up selling their companies and getting those type of investment deals,
Hmm.
most of the time they're looked at as sellouts.
Oh, I know.
Like, do you think that, or in your experience, how do indigenous people view things like that? Because it's like we want the brands to elevate and
Hmm.
do well, but I guess in the past it's been a thing where black brands have gotten acquired and they changed the formula or something like that, and
Yeah,
then things change, so people just hate the idea of people getting acquired. But it's like in order for the brand to go to the next level, you
it
have to
has
have some
to.
kind of financial backing, and it
Yeah,
necessarily doesn't normally come from people that look like us or people of color. It's like
yeah.
the other people for now, because we coming up. But for now, it's like people who are not of color who are providing that funding, and then they're looked at like, oh, they sold out their company, and like, how do how do you envision if that were to come about for Cheekbone Beauty, how your community would like take it?
Yeah. So what I think one of the brands that I did a lot of research actually on this subject, what was it called? Vintner's Daughter. Like
Oh,
she
I'm
was
not
a
sure.
black beauty founder and she started in farmers markets. Maybe it's not Vin, I'm thinking maybe
Oh,
it's
Carol's daughter?
Carol's Daughter.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Carol's daughter.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
I don't know. I think there is another brand called Vintner's Daughter, but this is
yeah.
Carol's Daughter. Read
Yeah.
her whole story, and then when she did sell, like people came after this poor woman. I'm like, what? Like they, and so I've learned that I will never, and this is a Brene Brown quote, if you are not in the arena with your face in the dirt, then I'm not listening to you about your opinions and your things,
Okay.
right? Like if you're not a business owner that has been here doing this and done the thing and built something, then why
Yeah.
would I take advice or be concerned? Because the truth is no one unless they're in your space or your industry understands what it's going to take, like you said, to get to the next level. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's true big conglomerates will change formulations. I've seen it happen. And I've spoken to a lot of people in my community, and I'm ready when that day comes for the negative feedback because it will come and it will
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Because for Cheekbone to be a brand that's going to have a legacy and last forever and make a difference in the beauty world when it comes to sustainability, I'm not going to be able to do that on our own. We are going to need bigger investors as
Yeah.
the as we go down this path. But I've spoken about it and I've said I will always be true to the roots of the brand and our formulations as long as I have control over that. And unfortunately, there will be a time when maybe I don't have control. And
Yeah.
I just have to know that I've done the best that I could with what I had to get it where it was. But I want the brand to last a long time because how are those next generation of Indigenous youth going to be inspired or empowered if the brand doesn't still exist?
Right.
And for
Right.
something to exist for a long time, it needs injections of capital, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was just I saw something a few weeks ago online when the road deal happened, and it was like, huh, it's so funny that when Mael sold their brand or when this other person
Nobody's,
sold their
yeah.
brand, nobody's in a tizzy about it, but Road, everybody's like, yes. You don't see like the white people saying like, oh girl, like I'm not about to
How
buy
dare
Road
you?
anymore. Like, how dare
Yeah.
she sell her brand? She's selling out.
No.
They don't do that, but it seems like people of color, like we just have this. So I
And
just want to
is it
bring more.
like I know the negative feedback in my community comes from my community, which is
Yes.
so painful, right? But I
Yeah.
also recognize it's part of generational trauma. Lateral violence is something that
Mm,
happens when we
mhm.
are hurting and suffering. And
Yeah.
so I think for me, the years of therapy and healing have helped prepare me for the what ifs. And just the moment you put yourself online, you're going to get a hater of some
Yeah, all the
kind at
time.
some point. Yeah. It's just hard. You're right. You want, it's like our people, I want you to support this and I want to support like it, but it is a challenge for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a challenge. And I think it's just more education that needs to be had and more conversations on the founders' parts and the consumers' parts for them to understand like both sides of the story. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think the consumers just don't understand like
No.
behind the scenes like how these things actually happen and how it benefits the brand. And so I
I
think just
was
more
trying to
conversations.
yeah, I was even so I was talking to content creators and explaining how challenging it is with minimum quantity orders, right? So some of
Oh,
our partners, and in particular our complexion product. So in complexion, we started with 9 shades. We were really open with our community. Like we're just testing this. This is how we're starting. We have 3 fair, 3 medium, 3 deep. And like
mm-hmm.
when we grow, we're going to grow evenly with each one. And we've always made that promise. And so we grew again, and then we've added 2 more fair, 2 more medium, and 2 more deep, I think. And now we're up to 15 shades. But I'm trying to explain to everyone on this process, like when we make a new shade, our partner requires 5,000 units from us. And when you were a small business, where do you think I'm putting these 5,000 units?
For
Like
one shade.
for one shade. Yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we get beat up about not having enough, it's like I feel like we need more education, like you said, to the consumer to help them understand. And we're being really thoughtful about how we put this into the world and slow, but we're as a brand, and I think this is why our community does appreciate it, we're really open about it. So I always suggest to founders, I'm like, you need to share with your world like why you can only make this many of this one thing or whatever. But and it's not with every product we make. Like some products we make, we have much better partnerships with our manufacturer, or we have our own lab where we can do small runs of stuff if we ever had to. But
Yeah.
certain things like our pencils, we don't have the machinery for the pencils. So we rely on our partner, and they're like, if you come out with a new shade, it's 5,000 units. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta get some coins. You gotta have the coins on
I
deck.
know, exactly, exactly. Or a massively strategic distribution plan before launching. And
Hmm.
I've always said though, our goal is inclusivity, so we will suffer as a business in order to make sure inclusivity is put forward. So
Yes.
I'm true to that, and I believe that's really important.
Hmm. Hmm. How do you find the balance between running, running a good business, and then also like running a good business, or like the give back initiatives that you do, and like having the business be sustainable as far as like profitability?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's a choice you have to make, and I've looked at it this way, and thankfully Raven, this investor that we work with now, their values match ours.
Is that like a
And
continuous investment?
well, not so much anymore. Like they've
Okay.
invested, but they're here to grow with us, right?
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
it's not like this ending drip of money. I wish. But they agree with us in the sense that they understand our sustainability mission, and they've jumped on board for that, where and I'm so grateful because I know a lot of venture capital, they wouldn't care. They're like, we want profits, whereas ours is safe for people, safe and for the planet, and then let's look at profits last, right?
Hmm.
And we're allowed to do that. One, they signed off on us being a B Corp, and our investor believes in that mission as much as we do. So I'm so grateful that this has not been a challenge to this point.
That's good. Tell us about the for future generations initiative, and like how we can get involved with that too to help.
Yeah, so every product that is purchased from Cheekbone, because we're B Corp, a certain percentage of 2% of the revenue comes back to the causes that matter to us. So
Hmm.
that happens every day, no matter what. Then every year we launch a product based on our future generations section of our brand. And all of the proceeds from those products go back to our scholarship fund. So we from that dream, when I woke up that night, I literally wrote I wanted to create a scholarship in honor of my grandmother who survived residential school.
Hmm.
And we've been able to do that. This year, we've given out 30 scholarships because of this For Future
Oh,
Generations
wow.
initiative. And when you think of all the things you're proud of, being able to do this work as part of the business is just something that makes me so, so happy. And it's turned out it's not only a way to honor my grandmother, but also my brother, right? There's been so many tragic things that have happened along the way, but the business has kept me grounded, and being able to build a business that's doing good in the world at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. I love it. So are you like an officially a nonprofit, or do you just take a portion of the proceeds to
Yeah, it's so we actually, and that's a great question because in the early days, someone was like, you can't focus on giving back. That's a whole nother business. You'd have to build a not-for-profit. So we've partnered with an organization called Inspire, and they are a not-for-profit. And so they're our partner on the scholarship. So they take care of all of the work that goes into that. And we are
Okay.
technically just a for-profit business because there is no tax category for a business that's called a social impact business like Cheekbone Beauty.
Yeah.
There's either for profit or not for profit. There was never
Right.
anything in between, right?
Got you. Yeah. Okay. That's as far as I know. I know one of my things one day is I want to be able to do the same thing with Friends in Beauty is to take
Yeah.
a portion of the proceeds and just pour into other beauty professionals and everything.
Oh,
But I like
I
the
love
idea of
that.
partnering with another because a nonprofit could that's a whole other thing
I think
you
it's
have to
easier
manage.
though for you in the US. There's a
Okay.
and in terms of your taxation, it's like
Mm-hmm.
us, you can easily apply for one. They
Yeah.
in Canada, it's different. It's not like that simple. Yeah. But I
Got you.
know that there's a tax number thing that you can set one up pretty
Mm-hmm.
quickly. But you're right. I think you doing it on like I love that. I think that's beautiful. Like and when you think about you making this podcast and all the work you're already doing, it just makes sense for you to be
Yeah.
doing something to support
It's like a
all the
whole
friends in beauty. Yeah, I
yeah, for
love that.
sure. Yeah. I do
I've
want to
just
ask,
realized we're running over time
yeah, so
and
you
I
have to
have
go.
yeah, I have another call and I just got a message about it. So I'm
No.
so sorry.
Okay.
I just realized I was like, we've been talking for a long
Oh
time.
my God, I have. So let me just wrap up and ask you the Frizzy Beauty
Okay.
rapid fire questions because I just love talking to you. You might have to come back. You're gonna have to
Okay,
come
I
back.
will. I will.
So
I
let me
will.
ask you the Frizzy Beauty rapid fire questions so I can let you
Sure.
go.
Okay.
First one is what are the top three keys to your success so far?
Consistency, humility, and love.
Okay, how do you measure your success?
Happiness.
Happiness. I love it. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Don't worry about what anyone thinks or stop worrying about what everybody thinks.
I love this. This is like true rapid fire. What advice would you give to someone else who has a brand that's ready to give up?
Don't give up and just work on one small thing at a time. So you and take a rest because that might be what you need, right? A rest, not
Yeah.
necessarily giving up. Yeah.
Okay. What's a resource that helps you in your business that you can share with the friends and beauty community?
Um, oh my goodness, Chat GPT. Like
My bestie.
the pro version, amazing. Like you would I can't live without it. I'm a
I
terrible
love,
writer to
I
begin with.
love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one is just a statement I want you to repeat and just say, my name is blank, and the key to longevity and success is whatever you
Mm.
think it is.
Ooh, okay. My name is Jenn Harper, and the key to longevity and success is my relationship with God, the creator of the universe. Like that is the key for me.
Absolutely. Before you go, please share your social media, website, however you want people to connect with Cheekbone Beauty.
I will. I am Cheekbone Jen on all the social platforms, and then we're at Cheekbone Beauty on Instagram, Facebook. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Jenn Harper. Yeah, I think those are all our places.
You're
Thank
going to
you
have to
so
come back,
much. I
Jen.
know we have so much to talk about. I would love
Yes.
to.
I really appreciate your time and I love chatting with you. So please come
You
back whenever
too.
you're free or you want
If I
to.
go visit my cousin, I'm going to tell you I'm in your area.
Yes, let me know.
Okay. See
I'll talk to
you.
you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast. Don't forget, sharing is caring. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with another friend in beauty. Give it a thumbs up and subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review so that other friends in beauty can find the show. Plus, we'd love to hear your feedback. Connect with us on all social media platforms at Friends in Beauty, hashtag Friends in Beauty to join the conversation, and join our Friends in Beauty Facebook community to stay connected. Talk to you soon.